Hey, everybody, welcome. Sorry, I don't know if that mic just jumped out at you there, but welcome to our master class today about how to make an actual passive income now, and specifically how to create an extra $1,000 a month. Now, I know several of you guys are jumping on, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook Live. Go ahead and put in there a shout out. Say where you're from. I'd love to be able to see who's on here live right now, so I can at least talk to you. And so too, we are going to answer questions at the end of this. So be sure to put your questions in. If you're watching the recording, you can put your questions in as well. We can put it in the comments and we can address those online too. So Rose from Chicago, welcome. Glad to have you on as well. I know many of you guys are coming from YouTube. Some of you are coming directly through StreamYard or Facebook. So Shane, good to see you from Idaho there. Jamie from Salt Lake. Good to see you that we've got the Intermountain West here represented. So anyways, guys, that's the big thing I'm going to talk about today is how to create an extra $1,000 a month passive income. I'm not promising a huge moon and stars here. And I'm going to tell you flat out in a situation where you may not be able to create $1,000 a month, because I'm getting sick and tired of people who's trying to promise the moon and the stars, and then you just get disappointed. That's kind of ridiculous. So Flanzy from LA, welcome as well. All right, so let me go ahead and get this all queued up for you here. All right. Okay, so you guys probably seen anti-financial advisor. I'll describe what that means in a minute here. But here's the big question I want to have you guys to consider here and see if this is really the place you should be to learn from right now is if I could show you how to create another $1,000 a month at least of passive income without a whole heck of a lot of time, and definitely without starting a brand new business that claims passive income, but they're making you do an Amazon dropship company, or they're telling you can do real estate, but then you really have to get this part-time or full-time business. Without having to do all that time and effort and energy to do that, as well as without a ton of financial training, not having to be a financial investing genius. If you can do that, just like hundreds of my clients and I have already done ourselves over the last decade, would you want to know how that's done? The answer is yes. Great. Keep going here. If the answer is no, then bye-bye. Keep going on. We don't, there's no reason to waste your time. And I definitely don't have to waste my breath for you, because the truth is this stuff that's worked for many of us. And I want to be able to share that with you guys today to really give you an idea of what that looks like. Something that I take for granted because I live that life now, but it hasn't always been that way. And so the big thing I want to cover today is first, one is how do we find money to invest? Where do you find the money to be able to do that? Because the truth is, if you want to create passive income without time and energy, you do need money. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Money does help. If you can't use time and labor, then money's the other thing. So how to find the money to invest? Maybe money you don't know about. Two is what's my favorite financial investments are that your financial advisor either doesn't know about themselves or don't want you to know about. And of course, what it takes to become financially independent in the next 10 to 12 years, meaning you have enough passive income coming in that you can actually be work optional. You work because you want to, not because you have to. Also, just so you know, for everybody on this, we're going to put a link in so you can actually download what we call the Cashflow Optimizer. It's an Excel spreadsheet that we have all of our clients use, help them be able to track that money, be able to really find the money, and then be able to invest it as well. So it's a great, kind of a good tracker overall to kind of see where your financial health is. So make sure that we'll put that in the link there for you. All right, so my inspiration for today is actually the guy I just got off the phone with in the last half an hour. It's actually my dad. My dad now is 79 years old, but I wasn't always raised with a lot of financial acumen. In fact, the only thing that I was really taught, especially with my dad, was that you should spend nothing, save everything, because there's just not enough money, right? I grew up with words, and maybe you did too, with phrases like, we can't afford this, we can't afford that. What do you think? Money grows on trees? I'm not made of money, those kind of things I would hear. And the one thing that really impressed me was when he would occasionally vent after work, right? Especially when, you know how it is sometimes. If you work for the man, right? You have that job, they're telling you exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to make money, and even how much money you're going to make. And he got pretty tired of that every once in a while. And he said, you know what, Chris, I think my job's literally going to kill me. In fact, he had already had strokes and heart attacks by the time he was in his 40s. And I didn't want that life. I wanted something different. And maybe like you're kind of like a teenager, you just want to rebel anyways. And so I want to take a different path, which is why I went to college. Your mom goes to college. So I went to college there. I know I like to quote movie quotes like Napoleon Dynamite from time to time. And so while I was in college, my plan was to become a business consultant, but I figured I should have real life business experience, not just an MBA. So I took a sabbatical from college to go and find some business to start. And the first one that became apparent that I thought I would enjoy was being a financial advisor because I figured worst case, I learn about money. Best case, I get some real business experience. Well, that 1 year sabbatical turned into many. I ended up not going back to college. I'm a college dropout as a result. And I stayed as an entrepreneur. I actually really enjoyed teaching people and helping them out with money. What was surprising to me is one day, my dad called me up and said, Chris, when are you going to advise me on my money? And I never expected him to say that because he was very close to his chest. He wouldn't like to share his financial situation with us kids. And so I sat down with him, the same table he was giving me advice from. Now sitting down at that same dinner table, and we're looking at his finances for the first time in my life. I'm seeing all the 401k money he had been stuffing away and religiously saving into. He had paid off his house in 18 years, was totally debt free earlier than planned. Very proud of that. He did everything that a good saver should do, right? He did everything that Dave Ramsey would say, man, I want to be like him someday. Well, as I looked at the numbers, he said, Chris, I'm 61 years old. I want to retire. What do I need to do? And I said, Dad, here's the thing. If you want to retire today, you better hope you die in 5 years because that's how long it's going to be before you run out of money. Okay, Chris, that's not what I wanted to hear. What do I do then? How can I actually get to retirement? And I said, I don't know. You did everything right. You did everything that I teach as a financial advisor. You saved in these mutual funds and 401k, got your match. You paid off all your debt. Riches, by the way, every financial advisor pretty much just tells you that. Invest in the stock market and be debt free. And then somehow you're supposed to be miraculously financially free. Well, he did that and it didn't work. And this bugged me because remember, he was my inspiration for becoming a financial advisor in the first place. Because I thought if not only could I learn about money, but also I also thought, I remember sitting in that very first intro interview that I had with them. I thought, if I could help my dad get a few years of his life back, maybe that would be worth it. Maybe if he wouldn't just literally work until he died, maybe this would be worth it. And what do I find out? He's still got to die a few years later. Yeah, he doesn't have to die on that day, but he doesn't have enough. And he did it all right. And I've been selling this dream to people as a financial advisor for several years, selling this dream that somehow people are going to become financially free. That's, just magically, this is going to work. And what became worse is when I talked with a friend that did do financial advising, then left to go do real estate investing. He said, Chris, well, how many of your clients are financially free where they really don't worry about money? I said, well, none. They all worry about money. Well, Chris, how about this? How many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free, not off the commissions you're earning, but actually doing these investments? And as I really thought about it, honestly, there's over 100 people in my office. And I said, well, there's people who've been working here since the late 1970s. This is the mid 2000s. So I said, probably none. There's your problem, Chris. And that led me down a different path. It got me down to looking for answers because if it hadn't worked for my dad, if it hadn't worked for my clients, and it's not working for financial advisors, even the ones that have been doing it since the 1970s, who's to say it's going to work for me? Who I was trying to save myself $2 million so I could live on 3% a year, $60,000 a year, thinking that was great back then, 20 years ago, not so much today. And that was my dream, was hoping to retire by 40 by being cheap enough, turning off the AC in the summertime, turn off the heat in the wintertime, just to scrounge together a few bucks just to be cheap as possible, make money as a financial advisor by trying to sell people on this dream that really hasn't led to anything true. That was a problem. That I got to the point where I had an integrity crisis. Either I keep teaching what I'm teaching, and I've got plenty of friends still in this financial business that have seen this. They have seen that it doesn't always work, but they still do it because it's their career. Do I throw away my career or, and quit and keep my integrity intact? Or do I just put blinders on and keep doing it saying, well, at least it's better than, at least people are doing something. It's better than nothing. I chose the other one. I chose to quit. I said, I'm done. I'm going to be a mortgage broker, teach ballroom dancing. But at the same time, I had to learn to know what they did. How did they actually get the point where there's guys in their 20s and 30s I saw that were financially free, doing things like real estate investing? And here's the thing, guys. Later that year, applying those same concepts, I myself was able to retire when I was 28, almost 29 years old. That is why I'm here today. Now, I was kind of lost for a little bit, not knowing what to do with my life because I was comfortable, I was happy, but I believe that God has put me on this planet for a reason. I believe that we're given gifts, we're given experiences for a reason that can help bless others' lives. And I figured, you know what? I can either just be quiet and happy with my family, which a lot of investors do, and that's great if that's what they choose to do. But I love teaching. I love helping other people. And if I've got a gift, why not share it? That is exactly why I'm here today to teach you this. So I'm here that if I could do it, even as a financial advisor, was brainwashed into what I believe to be true and switch gears and be able to think almost the opposite and become like an anti-financial advisor. If I can do that, you can absolutely do this as well. But here's the thing, guys, is that this is the key thing you've got to remember is that cash flow is what creates freedom. Understand that I was always taught save up all this money, accumulate all this money into a big retirement nest egg, and then that golden goose is going to pop out those little golden eggs for you at retirement. The truth is that what I was really teaching the financial advisor is how do we create this big old fat goose, but then let's starve it over the next several years. Why don't we just take it a slice at a time, and hopefully you don't die before the goose is completely gone, where it's just skin and bones, right? That's really what it is. It's about how to live on it. And with inflation, everything else, live on that 3%, 4% rule is debunked a long time ago. That's bull. 2% if you want to retire early. So if you have $1 million living on 2% means 20,000 a year if you want to retire early. And you want your money to last for your life. 3% if you're trying to retire at normal retirement age. And that's the new numbers they've now discovered since they updated them from the late 1970s when they came up with that stupid 4% rule. That's where it is. It's about income. It's not about how much you've saved up. It's what does that money create for you? How do you get your money working harder for you so you don't have to work so hard for it? That is the true key. And that's what got me to that point. And I'll give you some details here later. Now, like I said, who's this not for? If you don't have any cash in your pocket, if really you have literally nothing to invest, well, then you don't create passive income, right? It's not going to be passive. You're going to require, if you don't have money, you're going to require time and energy. And so that's fine. By the way, I've done that before too. I've put time and energy into my investing to allow myself to build it up and grow it faster. That's okay. But understand that what the strategies I'm going to talk about today are actually more based on true passive investing, where you're not working for the money. Somebody else is doing the investing. You're just the person giving the money and letting them do the work. Does that make sense? And so if you're in that place, it's not gonna work. Now, I will say this. I will give you some alternatives if you're looking to get some of that money to start building that cash up. I do have some alternatives for you at the end of this. So hang in there because I will get to that. But just know that when I'm talking about passive income, especially if you want $1,000 a month, you're probably going to need at least 100,000, 120,000 bucks. If you don't have that, then you may not create $1,000 a month. Now, if you don't have six figures, like I said, don't worry. We'll teach you more on that at the end. Here's the other person this is not for. If you're the type of person that are completely brainwashed, you believe that Dave Ramsey is the best guy ever and that the mutual funds are the best investment you can ever have. And like some people have tried to argue with me online saying that, they're like, well, the S&P 500 is the most diversified thing ever, which it never is. It's not diversified at all. Very, very little diversification in those things, but still people claim it, right? So if you're not open to this, it's not going to work anyways, right? It's just like a parachute. It only works if your mind's open. Right? You've got to make sure that's the case. So if you're open to this, you're willing to do something different with your life, and you've got money, this can absolutely work. Otherwise, this is going to really just be words to you. It's not going to make any effect. Now, if you don't have money, like I said, there's still hope there. We can make sure we help you that. But I'm just telling you, the Dave Ramsey of the world, they don't get it. Now, they may live it. Just so you know, Dave Ramsey has a $600 million real estate portfolio that he talks about sometimes, but he always tells you to not worry about that and just throw your money away in the stock market, even though that's not where he made his money. He made his money in his business and in real estate. Well, if that's where Dave Ramsey made his money to be worth over $700 million, why don't we do the same thing, right? That's the thing. Is like, I only teach what I actually do. I'm not like those other financial pundits. They'll tell you to invest in something that they don't really do themselves or that's fake. That's just a bunch of crap. Now, there are challenges out there today, right? We know that we've got issues with the stock market. Will the stock market go up or down? Like we've seen it come back to previous highs almost, but there's still those worries. There's all these recessionary signs saying, wait a minute, they say the recession is over, but is it really? That's a big issue. Then we got people, like I mentioned, like Dave Ramsey telling you, save $100 a month for the next 40 years. You'll have 1.176 million. Well, first and foremost, there's a problem with that. One, he's assuming a 12% rate of return, which the stock market never does. It never does that long term. 12% is false. I learned as a financial advisor, which is one of the reasons why I quit. It was a lie. But even then, guess what? It's at 12% for 40 years, $100 a month doesn't give you 1.176 million. It's 979,000. But because he says it with so much freaking confidence, people believe it. And it's false. He can't even do math right. Why are we believing him? Even worse, and there it is. There's the numbers, right? But even worse, there's people like Michelle right here on this post here on Instagram. You see her, she's like, Dave, I follow your advice since I was 18 years old. I'm 50. I've lost my entire retirement in the stock market. I've done what you said, but I've lost almost all of it. Is there anything else you recommend? Here's a problem, guys. She's lost her money following his advice, and then she's asking for more advice. This is the sad part that people it's like the blind leading the blind. People keep going after the same crappy bad advice that hasn't worked. I'll even throw in another stat. Did you know that Fidelity, which is the number one 401k provider out there, has 45 million Americans investing with them? 45 million, guys. That's a lot of adults investing in Fidelity. Only 1.5%, 750,000 have at least $1 million. And guess what? They did a survey of those, that 1.5%. Over a third think it'll be a miracle that they'll ever be able to retire. They don't even think it's possible. Understand that 1.5% are the ones that actually have $1 million, but a third of those, that means a half of that 1.5% doesn't even think they'll even make it. That means really 1% of people think they'll even have a chance, that even have shown proof that maybe they have a slight chance. That's disturbing, guys. That should concern you. That it's like if you go look up a restaurant, right? And you're looking at the Google reviews. If you saw a restaurant that had 100 reviews, and out of those 100, only one person gave a 5-star review, would you go to that restaurant? Probably not, right? Because it sucks. That's financial advising. But yet they put so many billions of dollars in marketing out there, they make it seem like it still works when it hasn't worked for decades. What makes you think it'll work in the future? Especially with bigger headwinds and bigger recession, possibly depression coming in the near future. And then we also have issues with another thing that's throwing us into a crappy recession, right? Is the government keeps spending more money. They keep wanting to run up our debt. And where are they going to get that money? They usually go for your 401k plan or IRAs because they can change the rules whenever they want. You have no control over it. When they change the rules, that's what you got to follow. And here's the thing, guys. This is what I ultimately want you to do. I want you to be able to make money while you sleep. Because if you don't, like Warren Buffett says, you'll work until you die. And I don't mean this. I don't mean going on YouTube, having people make disturbing loud noises. You get paid $16,000 just to be disturbed in your sleep. That's not what I mean by making money while you sleep. It's really about creating multiple streams of passive income so that not even just to get you work optional, but even protecting you in case of layoffs. If you're in the tech industry, you can be laid off at any time. We've already seen it happen. I've had several clients already get laid off. Many have thanked me, even in Hollywood. They've thanked me saying, thank goodness we had passive streams of income coming in, so we don't have to rush to find the next crappy job. We actually were able to take a breather, look for the right job, and then come in. That's what passive income and multiple streams of income do for you. It creates more freedom and safety in your life. And that's the thing, guys. You got to take this red pill. If you want a new results, you got to take the red pill. You can't take at this point. You shouldn't be taking the blue pill anyways, because the blue pill will just get you like every other American, which is broke, begging for Social Security, and hoping you don't outlive your money, which is what everybody is worried about in retirement. I don't want you guys to be there. I want it to be something where you can actually not just make it to retirement, but what if you can actually create a difference in your life today versus a financial advisor telling you it's always 30, 40 years out? What about now? Now, everybody will tell you the stock market is better than real estate, right? They always tell you that. They'll show you these charts like I did when I was a financial advisor. You put in $1 back in 1926, and a century later, you've got like $50,000. So stock market's way better. And housing, I mean, like that blue line down below, housing doesn't keep up. They don't make nearly as much money as the stock market, even though it's going up and down. It's still better, right? Well, let me show you real life numbers here. I bought a house in Tennessee just over 5 years ago, and there's a picture of it there on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side is a stock market during that same period of time when I bought this house. The stock market, I just updated the numbers because it did come up a little bit more. It was at 9.75% return, about 9.74% return is what it's done. That's pretty good. That's better than average. I'll show you what the average of the stock market actually is, but that's better. But I said, well, let's compare. How would that compare to buying a real estate property with that same $32,000 down payment I did for the property? So 32,000, if you put that in the stock market over that same period of time, like I said. And by the way, do you know that over 90% of mutual funds don't even get stock market returns, especially if you have money in a 401k? You don't even get close to stock market returns. But if you happen to have the SP 500 with zero fees coming out, you would have about $52,500 after the 5 years and 4 months. For me, I've actually, this is probably hit about $135,000 right now for me. So even though the market's made 64%, I've made it over 320% already. I need to update my number as well. So that's the big difference. Now, is it guaranteed? Of course not. Like that doesn't mean any guarantee. But here's the cool thing: is when it comes to income, even though stock market long term, 30 years, has been closer about an eight. Actually, that's not long term. That's actually a different one. That's an older number right now. Like I said, the numbers are updated, but still, it's 1575 a year based on that that new one, that 9.74% return. So now you got that 52,000, you can live on 1,575 bucks a year. But right now, I'm cash flowing about 540 bucks a month, a little over 540 bucks a month currently, which is why I'm making 6,500. So I'm making over quadruple the income from the same money. Oh, and I actually get to keep more of that money because I have tax advantages. So I basically pay almost no tax on that money. Where in the stock market, you still have to pay tax. Even if you try to put it in a 401k down the road, you still have to pay tax. So even though you have 1575 per year, guess what? You might lose at least a quarter of that money. Might leave you with maybe 1,100, 1,200 bucks a year versus my 6,500. I still make 5 times more than what you make. Again, not to say that's bragging. I'm just saying this could be what you do too. You could have money in stocks versus real estate. Oh, key thing here, this real estate property, because there'll always be somebody say, yeah, but Chris, you got to manage it. You can just throw it in the stock market and set it and forget it, but you're managing that property. No, I'm not. I have a property manager. I don't even know the tenants' names. Okay. I don't even know their names. I don't deal with the property. I have a property manager doing all the work. I'm about as passive as I would be if I were in the stock market today. So yes, I might manage the property manager. I might want to make sure I still get paid, but anybody who actually makes money in the stock market would also do the same thing. They want to make sure they still get paid there too. So like I said, the stock market has really been returning about 7.7% long-term in the last 30 years. So here's what I recommend. This is why I said, if you're trying to find money, here's some things you can do right now. If you already have money, it still works for you too. First is get lean. So these are the 3 things: get lean, get liquid, and get out. Get lean means this, is that I want to make sure that I have cash, right? I want to make sure that I'm actually able to be a wise steward of my money. Anything that's not serving you, get rid of it. I just talked to a lady yesterday on a podcast interview. When she stopped the recording, she said, Chris, I actually did some of these things you talked about with getting lean. She's like, I finally started tracking my money, and I recommend using like Mint or something like that. She started tracking her money. She found $1,000 a month coming out in subscriptions, and not just normal subscriptions. I was thinking like somebody might be paying for cable still, even though you got streaming services way cheaper. No, that wasn't that at all. It was apps on her phone. The apps alone were $1,000 a month that she realized were apps she wasn't even using. She got rid of those, saved herself $1,000 a month. Guys, that's a big deal. Okay. You might be thinking, what kind of apps did she get? I don't know. But that's what I mean. I had another client where she was eating out a lot. In fact, we found out after she started tracking her money, which it took her a month to even get the courage to do it. Once we did it, $5,600 a month eating out. $5,600 a month, guys. Horrible. We cut it back to $1,000 a month for eating out, freed up to $4,600. Then she started saving money on some other bills, with her grocery budget. She actually cut that back by a few $100 as well. And then we also saved her some money on taxes. And then we also paid off a few credit cards. We actually saved her like over $70,000 that year, just because we were able to free that up. That $70,000, can that be invested? You betcha. By the way, if you're a business owner, one of the big things you should be looking at Get Lean is tax savings. Every time we meet the client, I shouldn't say every time. I would say it's very rare that we find somebody we can't save money for on taxes. Very, very rare. But in almost every case, we usually find someone, they can save at least $5,000 to $10,000 a year as a business owner because there's things they miss. Their accountant just doesn't talk about. Their accountant takes their numbers, but doesn't proactively teach them what to do. So there's tax savings you can do to free up money. There's ways to pay off debt in a very different way. I talk about the cash flow index that I talk about, the equation that I created back in the last recession, things like that. There's so many different ways you can be responsible and get lean without sacrificing your lifestyle. You don't have to live on rice and beans, but just be responsible. Track your money on at least a weekly basis, if not bi-weekly. Track it weekly, please. Start to watch your money, and I guarantee you'll find at least $300 to $500 a month just doing that alone, allowing you to speed up your progress to invest more money to then turn that into passive income. And that leads to that next point, is getting liquid. Getting liquid means this: get your money out of prison and keep it there. So Many financial advisors are always teaching you to put your money in prison. Even the financial advice of today will tell you that. They'll tell you to lock up your money in your home equity, pay extra on your mortgage payment to pay that mortgage down, even if it's at 3 or 4% right now, which is less than inflation, but still, pay it down. And then they'll tell you, besides locking up money in equity, they'll lock it up in their 401ks and IRAs and retirement plans. And don't ever touch it, because if you do, we'll slap you with a 10% penalty for touching your own money, all that kind of stuff. So get the money away from those places. Keep it in cash. A great strategy that we teach about, I'm not going into major depth here today, but we'll do another webinar on it next week about the strategy, about infinite banking, or as we refer to it, max ROI infinite banking, where you can actually save your money inside what's a whole life insurance policy, grow that money in a tax-free supercharged savings account, making more than the bank and better protected than the bank, safer than the bank, and you can actually use that money to invest wherever you want. So you can actually be liquid to invest it for passive income. So that's one of the key strategies I teach there with getting liquid. But again, keep your money out of prison. Don't lock it up in those retirement plans. Don't lock it up in your equity in your house. Keep it liquid. So then you can do the third thing, which is get it out, right? Now, I'll tell you, Warren Buffett now has $147 billion of cash. Why? Because he wants to get that money out. He is preparing. In this article I'm showing you, at the end of 2022, he only had $120 billion. He's built up $27 billion in just the first 6 months of the year because he sees that we need to be liquid right now. There's something coming. There's a pretty dang big recession, I think, a bubble that's going to burst bigger than what happened with COVID or anything else. In fact, it's because of COVID that's going to be bigger because they printed all this money and now we got all this money here available. That money is going to cause a crash. All the extra money that the government pumped in has got to get back to normal again. It's just like the higher it is, the harder it falls, right? That's what we're going to see. Buffett's getting prepared for that. So here's places you can get liquid. I already mentioned that, but there are lots of places to do that. But remember, get liquid out, get that money away from those places. Don't lock it up in your company's 401k. Don't lock up in equity. Here's where you can get it out. Here are the places you can do it. I know this is probably the thing you've been waiting for, right? Turnkey rentals. This is like what I just showed you, that property in Memphis, Tennessee. That's a turnkey rental. I didn't have to go and hunt it down. I went to a turnkey rental company. They said, here are the properties we have in these areas. And they already have the numbers there. They say, here's the rent that you're likely to get from this property. Some of them even have renters in it. So you already know exactly to the penny what you're going to make. And you can say, great, well, there's the rental. I'm going to buy that. Somebody else property manages it for me. I just have to buy it. And then I get paid checks from that, electronically speaking, not physical checks. So I get those checks coming in the month, in the account every month coming in after I pay property management fees. And yes, there are still some turnkey rentals that are paying me at least 9 or 10% a year just on the cash flow, not including any appreciation at all. By the way, if you saw my numbers, they were like 320%. Well, about 200% of that is appreciation, because as it appreciates, especially if you have a mortgage, I was able to get the quintuple, that 5x effect on my money because I leveraged the bank's money to be able to make more. But even without it, I still made over 100% return on just the cash flow alone and them paying down my mortgage for me. That's a huge benefit that you get from that. Not to mention all the tax benefits I didn't even include in that equation. Another thing you do is lending. You can actually lend your money to investors, right? You can lend your money to businesses or investors, and they pay you a return just like you would pay a bank. They pay you the interest instead of the bank. Why would they do that? Because banks kind of suck. They're kind of horrible to do business with. They don't, and especially now, they're starting to get a little bit tighter. They haven't totally tightened up yet, but they're starting to be more selective. Instead of having to jump through all those hoops, they'd rather just borrow money from you, make it easy, pay you interest-only payments, and then pay back your principal after a certain amount of time. Could be a few months, could be a few years. So you can lend money out. There are funds that are almost like you could do like lending, but it could be lending to many people. There's one we advertise on our podcast. They even have a minimum investment of $1,000. With them, they actually invest in 350 different real estate investors. So they're lending the money to them. They're getting paid returns, and then you get paid some of those profits every single month. And that's why they're paying usually at least 8 to 10% a year on that money there. I have another friend, he's paying it 10 to 12%. He'll pay it contractually, just depending on the time frame and the amount of money you give him, right? There's apartments. You can invest in apartments. Although that's not a great thing to invest in right now in this current environment, you can pull your money together and do what's called a syndication, pull your money with other investors to go buy an apartment. Somebody else manages and operates it. All these things are passive. Self-storage, same thing. Pull your money with other investors, buy a self-storage unit. And self-storage, for a lot of people, they look at this, especially right now, because it's more recession resistant. When people downsize and they have to downsize their homes because it's getting too expensive, what do they do? What do Americans do with their junk? They put it into storage units, right? And you can profit off that. Oil prices have been skyrocketing 25% since June. And as a result, people are freaking out about that again. Well, guess what? That's great because I have oil investments. I have investments that are actually, again, passive. I don't do anything with it other than put money in, but I'm getting paid rent on the land and we're getting paid royalties from the drilling, from not just the oil, but the natural gas, which is a clean green energy that everybody keeps worrying that that's going to take over. Well, guess what? Natural gas is a clean energy. I get paid royalties off that as well as rent. I get the double dip and make 10 to 15 plus percent returns. Last year, I made 8% on the first year of this investment that I did with one of these oil companies. But the cool thing is, there was another investment that came out a month later that my clients got into. I didn't get into it, but my clients got into it, several of them, and they were made 35% last year. So, there's lots of different options and possibilities there. Partnerships. This is one thing that I've been doing as well. You can do partnerships. You can actually lend, actually just give money, finance a company, have a partnership together, and then they go do the investing. I have one where they're buying and selling raw land right now. 250,000 is now making me $7,500 a month and counting, right? And I just reinvest that to keep building that cash flow up more exponentially, more and more every month. And so there's things like that you can do. You can even invest in car washes. There are so many things you can invest in. And this is what I didn't realize as a financial advisor. I didn't know that I could actually invest in things outside of the stock market. I thought the stock market was it. I'd heard about real estate, but when I heard, that it only appreciates maybe 3% a year, I said, well, that's dumb. Why would I do that? I can make 12% in the market, even though that was false. So when I realized I can get contractually paid a certain return and that generates income. Think of this. You have $100,000, you lend it to somebody at 12%, that's 1% a month. Well, $100,000 making that 1% a month pays you $1,000 a month. Now, if that were in a mutual fund, again, 3%, if I were to pull out 3% a year, because inflation could kick my butt, I'm only pulling out $3,000 a year. That's $250 a month. Just by using the same money, I can have quadruple the numbers. So let me give you examples of this. This guy in particular, he actually just emailed me. I posted on Facebook just last week. He emailed me because he said, Chris, I finally did what you said. It took him a couple of years to do what I said because he had a rental property in California that had 600,000 of equity in it. I said, buddy, get that money out. Like sell that property because he was only making $200 a month. I said, that's a 0.3% rate of return on your money. Get that money out, invest it somewhere else. Even if you only make 10%, that's 60,000 a year. That's 5,000 a month versus $200 a month. He's finally done it. He just said he just bought his 6th rental property now out in the Southeast because it's much better returns than California or anywhere in the West Coast or Western half of the United States. And now he's making about $8,500 a month. He has broken over $100,000 a year, which is what I told him to do 4 years ago. And he finally did it. And now he's seeing that. That's the key difference. By the way, you know what his plan was? In 6 years from that point, he was going to pay off his mortgage so then he can make $2,400 a month. He's now making $8,500 a month by getting rid of it. So that's the key, guys. That's what's amazing. Here's another person, right? One thing we did with them, they wanted just to invest their money. They had $5 million between stocks and mutual funds and things like that, $5 million. But before we got started, we realized, wait a minute, you've got some loans here that if we consolidate and pay off, we can actually do a cash out refinance of your mortgage, lock it in for 30 years at a low interest rate, which they did, save them $3,800 a month in loan payments. That's about a little over 45 grand a year right there. Not to mention tax savings. Actually, I need to update that number. They did say it was over 20,000 a year they're saving in taxes now. So already we're getting up over 65 plus thousand a year in savings. And then we were able to sell a rental, improve their cash flow by $2,000, and then just starting to move some of their money out of stocks and mutual funds and things like that to buy more. They're well into the thousands and thousands of dollars a month. I think they're actually breaking over 10,000 a month at this point. So, and they're still not done because they still have a few $1 million in the stock market that, again, we're not investment advisors. We can't tell them what to do, but it kind of hurts to be like, oh man, you guys could be easily, like I showed here, 575,000 plus. Really, they could be closer to 600,000 per year. That's $50,000 a month, the passive income they could be having if they went and moved all their money, got all their money out and invested. Here's another one. This woman here, she actually had about 600,000 to invest, put some in that oil investments, did some debt funds where she got paid contractual debt, had a real estate fund. Total now is over 6,000 a month. She actually just became financially independent just a few months ago. She's now out of the rat race, work optional, and she's going to keep working because she loves it. But like now, everything that she makes at her job is just gravy that she can then reinvest and just build up her passive income some more. This guy here, excited to see him. He's coming for our event this weekend. This guy, we had a hard time trying to refinance the equity of his property. He had all this money in equity. He was asset rich, cash poor. Didn't have a lot of cash on hand, but he had a lot of equity in his property. We're finally able to get that out and invest it, get him over $200,000 a year. I saw this example here because I was actually at in a mastermind event, kind of a study group for financial advisors. I'm the one guy that shows up in shorts and a t-shirt. Everybody else likes to wear their suits and ties. So I show up there. I'm not officially a financial advisor, just so you know, but I get invited back because I still hold one of my licenses. And all these guys make millions a year. And this one guy is from New York, great guy, awesome guy. But he's talking about one of his clients is a 54-year-old attorney. And he says, yeah, this guy's making $400,000 a year. He's got 1.7 million in IRA. He's got 300,000 in savings. He's putting away 4,000 a month. His income goal, his retirement goal was 180,000 per year or 15,000 a month. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go with his planning and let's compare it to what my planning would look like. So here's what a traditional financial planner would do. He would take that money and say he happened to make 8%. I'm being very liberal here with that return because I don't think he would make him that much. Let's say it's 8%. That's 4.8 million. However, by age 65, this is after 11 years though, right? There's inflation. And I put a conservative inflation. I said 5%. It's actually not that much because remember, income is 144,000 a year, but only 84,000 after inflation. He wants 180,000. He needs 100,000 more. 5% inflation, he'd either need to do one of a couple things. If the inflation doesn't happen, he can keep going, work until his 70s, right? But if there's a 5% inflation, he's either got to save from today $350,000 a year. Not likely. He only makes 400,000. 2, he can increase his rate of return to 16%. Definitely not going to happen in the stock market. Or just wait until you're age 88. Here's what most people do in real life, though. They're not going to wait till age 88. They're going to wait till maybe their 70s or so, like my dad had to do. Wait till your 70s and then just hope that you end up not running out of money in the meantime. So you have to pull out more than what they typically recommend, knowing that maybe your lifespan's been shortened. It just means you have less time to enjoy your money. That to me is not living a life, right? Here's actually what our way would do. That IRA, even at simple 10%. And again, like I said, a lot of our investments pay more. I'm just keeping it more at the baseline of what most investments end up paying at least. His money would be 5.8 million. Now, guess what? That 5.8 million, because we never ever touched the principal, that's kicking off those returns of 10% a year while leaving the money still there. Guess what? That's 588,000 a year that he has by age 65. Remember, and that even after inflation, that's 340,000 a year. So he's got about double what he wanted as a goal. So here's the crazy thing: even with 5% inflation, if he wanted to retire and hit the $180,000 goal, he can do it in 2 years. He's 54 right now. He could do it at age 56. Because why? You got 1.8 million. You invest that. That's 180,000 a year, right? Actually, he had 1.7 million is what he had. 170,000 a year. You reinvest that again the next year or so, he's retired. So within 2 years, he could actually hit his goal versus doing it with my friend as a financial advisor, even though he's well-intentioned, the guy's got a good heart, still because of he's putting him in those mutual funds and you never know what's going to happen. The market will be up or down when you're trying to retire. This guy will either have to wait till his 70s to retire or just try to retire on a lot less. That's the difference, guys. That's the same thing that our client Dan figured out. Dan actually had $1 million in his retirement account. The financial advisor says 30,000 a year. You good with that? No. I don't want to retire as a broke millionaire, 30,000 a year. That's poverty line as a millionaire. And so no, he got his money working for him in different things, between apartments, some duplexes, oil and gas, and things like that. And instead of 30,000 a year, it was 130,000 a year when it started all paying out for him. Louis here, he actually was in Hollywood. He actually put this here. He said he was actually on my podcast recently, and he talked about how he's about 87% of his basic bills being covered already after 4 years. 58% if he really wants to have a lot of freedom with that money. So, I mean, he's already almost there. Here's the thing. If you want 100,000 cash flow in 10 years, actual after inflation, you can do it in a mutual fund. But if you're making 7%, which is pretty decent in a mutual fund, you have to save 19,400 a month. Good luck saving 230,000 plus a year. You get investment at 10%, you can save 5,000 a month and get there in 10 years. Or you invest 12%, it's 3,700 a month. So here's the thing, guys, that we got clients sometimes saving more. And that's if you're just starting from zero. If you have money right now, you can shorten these timelines significantly. I actually had one woman that I spoke with. She was down in Arizona. She was single, 55 years old, health coach. And she said, Chris, I've got $250,000. I want to know what I can do with it. And I said, all right, well, what's your goal? Like, what do you need for passive income? She's like, I need $2,000 a month. I said, that's it? Yeah, I only need 2,000 a month. She's like, and I said, well, what goal, what time frame are you hoping to do this in? Well, I'd like to do it in 10 years by the time I'm 65. Now I laughed because I know that she's coming from that traditional mentality. She said, well, yeah, I mean, like that 250,000 kicks off 3%. That's only 7,500 a year. I want 24,000. So she has to triple her money in 10 years. That's very hard to do in the stock market, by the way, is tripling your money in 10 years. Almost never happens. Okay. So I told her, I said, what if you could do it this year? What do you mean? I said, well, if you make 10% on 250,000, that's 25,000 a year or just over 2,000 bucks a month. You could retire this year, even though I know you're a health coach, you don't have to. And she just wants to coach a couple hours in the morning and then be done for the rest of the day and be free. And I said, you could actually do that this year. She's like, you're lying to me. You got to be pulling my leg. I'm like, no, it's not that hard to do. It's just math. You make 10% and it kicks off that return. That's cash flow coming in. That's income coming in from investments. And it blew her mind. And in fact, she had to go and talk to her friends who also had retirement accounts, were indoctrinated and brainwashed in the same thing. And she went and took the blue pill. She actually never ended up working with us. Crazy enough. Even though we could have easily done that for her. And I was under promising her. I knew she could have done more, but I wanted to be conservative in my numbers. But when you go back to those people that you talk to all the time that don't know that this world exists, they don't realize that this is actually something that we've been doing for decades already. It's worked for millions of us, yet financial advisors are not paid to tell you this because they earn zero commissions if I teach you how to do this kind of stuff. Okay, so that's the big reason why financial advisor will never teach you this. They don't want you to take your money out of their accounts because then they lose their commissions, because that's the only way they could become financially independent themselves, is making money off of your money. Whether you make money or not, you could lose money, they will still get paid. That's a sad, sad business model, in my opinion. I think that's kind of a scam personally. Now, here's the thing. You might say, okay, Chris, I don't have $100,000 or 200,000 or whatever to invest. No problem. Even if you don't have hardly any money, you feel like you're paycheck to paycheck, check out our Cashflow Secrets course. We'll put that in the link in the show notes as well here, or the show notes. Sorry, I'm used to my podcast recordings. We'll put that link here on the side just for you to be able to look at. But Cashflow Secrets course, this is perfect if you're looking to find ways to free up cash. Average client that's done this without creating passive income has found $34,000 a year, especially if they're a business owner. If you're not a business owner, it's closer to about $15,000 or so a year, 15 to 20,000, depending on your situation. But this stuff alone, just applying this, could actually free up easily a few $100 a month at minimum, just to get you that start to be able to get more money so then you can invest it. So make sure you check out that course if you're in the point where you really are paycheck to paycheck and you really don't have any cash. Now, here's another thing. If you want to see how much passive income you can create, just go to Money Ripples. This is the thing I'm going to give you as an action item today. If you do have some money, or you know there's some money in your situation, but you're not sure what that could do, go to moneyripples.com. For now, right now, there's the passive income calculator button there. Otherwise, you'll have to go to where it shows up at the top there, passive income calculator. But you can click on that button right there, fill out a few questions, and then we can actually tell you pretty accurately how much passive income you could create in the next 12 months. So that's the challenge. That's the action I'm going to tell you to do right now. That's the homework I'm going to give you, so to speak, even though it takes you a couple minutes to do it, is go there. I know some of you are probably doing it right now. Fill that out, and it's going to give you a number. Now, the number could be a negative number. If it's the case, it means that you need to save more to even have an emergency fund. You're probably paycheck to paycheck or just over that. Perfect. That's not a problem. That Cashflow Secrets course can be great for you. Be able to get into that kind of course, right? It's a great way to do that. If it's positive, especially if it's over $15,000, you need to go to that point where you can book a call. If it's over $15,000, book a call. If it's under $15,000, don't worry about booking a call with our consultant, because we're just going to tell you the same thing. We're going to tell you we don't want to take you on as a client, at least for the one-on-one consulting, because we do one-on-one consulting. Now, why do we say that? Because we like to make sure you make more money than you pay us. There are plenty of companies out there that will take your money and say, well, hey, over the next 5 years, you can make your money back. Heck, even financial advisors are saying, if we can make you 10% a year, that's pretty amazing. You hope to make your money back in 10 plus years. We don't like that. We like you to make your money back within the next 12 months. And that's why we pre-qualify you that way. That's why we want you to make at least $15,000 on that calculator for us to really further kind of go deeper with you and see if you really do qualify working with us one-on-one, to actually have somebody support you and guide you along. Because what we do is we actually work as strategists and connectors. We help you strategize, figure out how to get that money out of prison, where that money could be going, and what kind of investments work best. And then, guys, here's the good deal. You could spend the next 10, 15 plus years like I did trying to create and find these investments, which is pretty tough to do, especially when there's a lot of charlatans, and sometimes the best marketers out there are the biggest charlatans. Or you can use our network. It doesn't mean it's 100% guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed in life, especially with money and investing. But these are people that we've vetted as well, people that we put our trust into. We often put our own money into as well. And so that's the kind of thing. We have our own network of people that we can then connect you with based on your situation. So again, we don't try to take commissions from those people or anything like that. We just really work for you, work in your corner. And again, that's why we want to make sure you can make at least $15,000 over the next 12 months, if you're going to work with us one-on-one. So that's the requirement there. If it's less, no problem. There's also the Wealth Accelerator Academy. If you want all the information, you want to know all the different types of investments, you don't have access to the network necessarily, but you do have access to at least learning what my clients all know, and all the education and what the different type of investments are and how to do due diligence and how that all works together, plus the cash flow secrets and everything else. You can do the Wealth Accelerator Academy. It's $997. It's pretty dang cheap compared to the value you get. So if you're more of a DIYer, that's a great course for you. But paycheck to paycheck, do the cash flow secrets. If it's more than 15,000, book a call. But definitely, if you got some cash and you want to know what it's going to look like, fill out the calculator. It'll tell you pretty accurately what you can do. Let me talk about today. I just mentioned I spoke with my dad, and this is from a conversation from a few months ago. I was talking to him about where my life is now, right? And even just the things going on. Like, I have my business here, obviously, because I came out of retirement to do this, and he's starting to realize, like, wait a minute, you don't even have to have a business. No, I don't. I just do it because, one, I love teaching, and two, I feel like this duty, almost a duty to people and duty to God, to do this kind of thing. And I told him that, how as a family we're traveling for the winter time, and going to do this and going to do that, and just updating him on what happened the previous few months. And he just stopped me. He said, Chris, I don't even understand your life. That was never my life. My life was, you work hard. Your word is your bond. You work hard. You do what you're going to do. And then hopefully you can have a retirement. Well, the problem is right now, like, because of his physical condition, he can't. He's alive, but he's not living. Does that make sense? Is that he's alive, and we're grateful for that, but he's not able to live the life that he wanted to enjoy. We really got to spend that time with us as kids. By the time he wanted to, it was too late. We were growing up. We had our own lives, and that he feel like he really missed out on that time, right? Don't ever fall in that place. Again, this is why I say that sign here: just live your life now, not tomorrow. That's important. You want to make sure that you can live your life today, so that you can actually enjoy that life with those you love, doing what you love. It could be a passion project. You might keep working your job or your business, but you might do something else. You might do more philanthropy. Imagine the amount of people's lives you could bless by having more financial stability and security for yourself, so you can start to create more wealth and legacy that not just helps you pass on from generation to generation. I'll give you an example. I had one client several years ago where we actually helped them free up $6,000 a month. Didn't do anything with investing, but we freed up $6,000 a month. That first month, you know what he did? They went and bought a four-wheeler for $6,000. And his wife said, listen, I know that people would judge us for this, but this was the best investment ever. Because now my husband, not as a chiropractor, he's not working 6 days a week. He's now working about 4.5 days a week. He's now taking off the weekends. He's got energy and time for us again. He's actually present. And guess what? We go on the four-wheeler every weekend. My kids got their father back, and I've got my husband back. Guys, that is a life that I want you to live. That is exactly why you need multiple streams of passive income now. You never know what's going to happen today, tomorrow, or ever. So, all right, I'm going to open this up for questions. If you guys have a question, I'll answer just a few, because I know we're definitely shorter on time. But let's hear it. Let's see what we got. I'm going to go back over some of these questions here as we go back. My goodness. Love that you guys are engaged. There are a lot of comments here. Thank you so much. Good to see you guys more piping in from all over the country here. Aspire Life asked, right here it says, you mean how to make investment income? Yes, exactly. Investment income. When I call passive income is investment income, Business, you can have residual income. That's great. Where you could set some systems and things up in your business to where after getting that upfront work done, then it pays you on a more quote unquote passive type of basis. I call that residual income just to distinguish between the two. Still requires a lot more upfront work. This is really getting your money to work for you instead. That's what I mean by that. Jennifer Hung had a question. She says, I have owned 2 turnkey rentals, but the repairs and tenant turnover has eaten all my profits. Can you speak to that and the risk with the other investments, please? One, yes, turnkeys can definitely do that. I've had that experience as well from time to time. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes not. The key is if you're going to buy turnkeys, you need to make sure they have good cash on cash return to more than pay for those repairs and that kind of thing. So then you still have profit at the end of the day. That can be an issue. So there is risk there still, but if you get a big enough profit and cash on cash return from those turnkeys could work. The other investments though, there can be risks as well. It just depends on the type of investment you're in, but you usually don't hear about it. So if there's vacancies and things like that time to time, maybe it'll affect the overall return of the investment. Maybe they were predicting 18% returns. Maybe it lowers it down to 14% or 13% or 9% or whatever it might be. That's definitely possible. But just know that, there's all these kind of risks. And again, the great thing with our clients is that we get them to help them pick and choose. Some of them love turnkey rentals and they'll do almost all turnkeys because they want that control. They know that they own real assets when they do that. Others say, I don't have to deal with anything. I don't even want to have to manage the property manager. Can I invest in these different funds? Can I invest in these different syndications where I'm investing in these specific deals? And the answer is yes, you can do that. You can design this however you want. And everybody's different. That's why I never say, okay, guys, here's the formula. You should buy this many turnkeys and invest in these funds and do these syndications. Because the truth is that everybody has their own flavor of what they like to do. And so that's how you can actually make that work. John, yes, the presentation is being recorded. Yes, when it's live, it is recorded. So, okay, Danielle answered that. Great. Let's see. Skipping on down. There's a calculator link. Awesome. Okay. Oh, there we go. Liz asks if we have over $15,000 in savings or equity, book a call. If it's just $15,000 in savings, I would not book a call. That's probably going to be your emergency fund. We never ever want to invest your emergency fund. That is your peace of mind. That's got to be there. Now, if you got a lot of equity, maybe, that's why I say just go on to the calculator, try it out, and we'll see what works best there. Flanzy asked, just so I'm clear, getting liquid means passive income? No, getting liquid just means getting your money in your own possession and in your control. Getting away from equity in your house, getting away from being trapped in 401ks and IRAs, getting it liquid. Many of our clients actually now refuse to do their 401ks when they realize it's kind of a big Ponzi scheme. They refuse to do the 401ks. They don't even like doing their 529 college savings plans because, again, you're locked in and there's not a lot of flexibility. I think any good plan, and we don't call it financial planning, right? But any good plan, even if it's an anti-financial plan, like we talk about a passive income or financial independence plan, if it's going to be that way, it should have flexibility. It should be able to maneuver like you do in life, right? It's got to be able to adjust. If it's so rigid that you can't adjust it, you're going to be trapped and you're going to feel like you're a prisoner and a slave to your own retirement accounts. You don't want to do that. You want that flexibility so that you can use it however you want. So anyways, great questions, guys. So appreciate it. You can put more in the comments below. Like I said, go to moneyripples.com, try the passive income calculator. I would say if you have definitely at least $25,000, $50,000 in savings and or equity, yeah, try it out. Heck, just try it for the fun of it if you want to do it that way. But go and try that today. Again, if you're like, I don't even have that cash, don't worry. The cash flow secrets is the very thing that got me out of my big, huge debt hole that I had and got me to within 9 years being financially independent the second time. Whole nother story on that one. But again, the links are right there. You can see that. Guys, I hope you make it a great day and we'll talk to you later.